Croeso mawr i'r sesiwn holi ateb yma. Addasu I fywyd Prifysgol. We've all had to adjust and adapt over the last few months, but adapting to university life, that's the subject that we're going to tackle today, and we've got a great panel. Mae 'da fi panel gwych o fyfyrwyr ymlaen ni. I'm going to let themselves introduce themselves to you, ac felly I'm going to start. Charlotte, tell us a little bit about you.
Hi, my name's Charlotte. I'm a third-year psychology student at the University of Birmingham.
Great, and on to Daniel, who's on my right.
Hi, I'm Daniel. I'm a second-year robotics and embedded systems engineering student at Aberystwyth University.
This feels like a bit like University Challenge, doesn't it? Morgan, ti sy'n nesa?
Hi, my name is Morgan. I'm a third-year undergraduate at King's College, Cambridge, and I'm studying human, social and political sciences.
Diolch yn fawr I ti. Tom.
Hi, I'm Tom. I'm a postgraduate student at the University of Exeter, and I'm studying an MSc in Financial Analysis and Fund Management.
And last but not least, ar ola, Ella. Cyflwyno dy hunan, Ella.
Hiya, yes, I'm Ella Catton-Jones and I study sports and physical education through the medium of Welsh in Cardiff Met University, and I'm in my third year as well.
Gwych. Well, diolch yn fawr. Thank you for those introductions. We've got a range of questions here, and I'm going to start with this one. How hard is the transition from year 13 to university level? Y pontio na, Ella, na I ddechrau gyda ti. Pa mor anodd nes ti ffindio hynny?
Nes I ffeindio'r pontio rhwng lefel A a'r brifysgol yn haws na'r pontio rhwng TGAU a lefel A. Mae'r llwyth gwaith yn rhywbeth tebyg. Mae rhaid chi fod bach fwy annibynnol, dyna dy'r unig beth yn y brifysgol rhwng y lefel A. Di popeth ddim yn cael ei roi ar blat I chi fel lefel A. Mae rhaid I chi wneud y gwaith darllen a'r gwaith ymchwilio yn unigol lle. Ond ar ran y llwyth gwaith, mae fel cyfrifoldeb chi ydi cyflwyno'r asaniadau ar amser cyfrifoldeb chi ydi troi fyny'r darlithoedd. Dy ddim fel ysgol lle mae'r athrawon yn dod ar ôl chi. Mae o fwy o gyfrifoldeb chi I gwblhau'r tasgau, I wneud y gwaith, I wneud y seminarau, a wneud darlithwyr ddim dod ar ôl chi yn chwilio am gwaith chwaith. Chi sy'n talu amdano fo, so gnewch yn mwyaf.
What a good start and what good advice right there. What Ella was saying about comparing the difference between GCSE to A-level and then going to university and highlighting the importance of being that independent learner at university. You've got to do it for yourself. Charlotte, was that your experience?
Yeah, I would agree actually. I mean, I found there was a jump, but in terms of actually workload, I would find the GCSE to A-levels a bigger jump in terms of workload. But first year of university is really there to kind of set you up to learn. It's more adapting to like the different types of assignments. So the way you're examined is very different at university, but you are given the chance to kind of trial and error different methods, see what works for you. And yeah, like learning even things like doing your own washing or like learning how to cut those simple things. That's a big jump, but it's easy to adapt. And first year is a good learning opportunity.
Great. So you've talked about obviously the work jump and the life jump of going there. Danielle, what was it like for you? And did you, going from Aberystwyth, where were you at home and what was that transition like for you?
Yeah, I thought moving to university was like difficult at first, but with time, gradually, like you will kind of work out a system that works for you to do it. Like the university isn't there set up so like you will fail. Like they want you to succeed, so they will help you along with making the transition, even if it's still a bit of a jump.
Great, so there are people there to support you. Mae hynna'n gysur mawr, Morgan. Oedd hi'n anodd I ti fynd draw I Gaergrawnt, a beth oedd yn helpu ti?
Yeah, the workload was quite a big jump, but I'd mirror what Ella said in that you have a lot more independence, so no one's going to necessarily push you to do the work unless you do it yourself. But at the same time, you also have quite a lot of intellectual independence in the fact that you don't really have a curriculum to follow, and it's much more reliant on your own thoughts and things like that. But equally, I would say that like kind of mirroring what Daniel said, the university wants you to succeed, and they know where you're coming from. They know you're coming from year 13, so they're not going to expect anything that's beyond your capabilities. So I think as long as you bear that in mind, you're not going to be expected to go above and beyond, and they very much know what your capabilities are, and you can work accordingly to that.
Gwych. So ti'n mynd teimlo ben dy hun, you never felt on your own, that you knew that people were there to be that scaffold for you?
No, there's a quite big like support system here, but also there's quite a lot of camaraderie in the sense that everyone is kind of going through it together and everyone's kind of going through these new experiences. So it's not like some people already know what they're doing, like everyone's kind of equally finding it quite strange. So there's quite a nice solidarity in that way, I think.
Gwych. Diolch yn fawr ti, Morgan. Ac yn ola, Tom, beth amdana ti yn Exeter yng Nghaerwysg?
I completely agree with what everyone else has said, really. I think the difference in the work itself, especially in your first year, isn't actually as big of a jump as from GCSEs to A level. But as the others have said, the difference is having to do it all independently. No one's going to chase you up. Being able to keep on top of your work, especially in your first year, when you're also adapting to kind of new living situations, living away from home. I think that's part of the challenge. And the challenges living away from home kind of pose. They definitely make your studying harder for first year, but I think, like Daniel said, once you kind of find your own system and you get used to it, it's not too bad of a transition. I think it's quite smooth.
A meddwl amdano ti'n benodol, Tom, pwy oedd yr cymorth gorau neu beth oedd y gefnogaeth fwyaf ges ti ar gyfer y pontio yma?
Good question. A lot of it was getting thrown into different situations that I may not have been so comfortable with before. I think if you needed support, obviously it was there, but a lot of what I went through, it was something that I kind of just tried to adapt to myself. I didn't feel I needed the support, but it was definitely there if I needed it.
Gwych. Dyna sy'n bwysig. That it's really important. I was asking Tom there what support in particular, but there is support there, and it's finding that isn't. The next question that we had here is a really good question, and I remember thinking this myself many moons ago when I was your age. Is it hard to balance social life, y bywyd cymdeithasol na, gyda bywyd a gwaith academaidd, that social life with academic life? How hard is that balance? And how do you maintain that? I'm going to start with Morgan this time. Ydy'n anodd cydbwyso ar hyn i Morgan?
It is really hard, and I think it's something I'm still trying to work out. I don't think it's something you necessarily ever come to a definitive answer on. I think that's like kind of one of the big skills you learn at university is how to manage your own time and make sure you're having enough time for your personal enjoyment. I mean, specifically at Cambridge, there can be a kind of culture to spend as much time as you can working, but it's kind of important to work against that grain and to take time for yourself. And I know people that take kind of different attitudes towards it. So to kind of keep their social life and academic life distinct, some people try to keep their degrees like their 9 to 5, so they'll very much like are regimented. They'll go to the library at 9 and they'll kind of clock out at 5, so to speak, which means they can then just enjoy their evenings and weekends. I mean, that doesn't work for everyone, admittedly, and I think another way to do it is to kind of like fuse them together in some way. So like working with your friends, you can maybe like talk to your friends about like the essay you're working on, or go to a coffee shop together, as a more kind of diffuse way of like kind of merging work and social life. But like I said, I think it takes a long time to kind of realize what works best for you. But the most important thing being that it's not too much of academic life. It's like looking after yourself as well. I think that's really, really important to remember, because you're not just getting a degree, you're getting like really valuable social experiences as well.
Okay, diolch I ti, Morgan. So Tom, ti'n gwneud gradd meistr ar hyn o bryd, so it's obviously you've got the balance right. What's helped you get the balance right?
I completely agree with Morgan. I think having a social life is, in some cases, I think sometimes demonized. I think he's completely right when he says that university is much more than just kind of the like the work aspect. You're really getting a life experience out of it. I think getting that balance, it's hard to say, because I think a lot of it depends on your current workload. I think keeping I think keeping track of your work and making sure you're on top of everything is first and foremost the most important thing. But I think above and beyond that, I think getting that balance right is really up to like how comfortable you are with managing your work alongside socialising.
Yeah. Diolch yn fawr ti, Tom. Ella, sut brofiad wyt ti wedi cael efo hynna?
I think it will take a few weeks for you to find what works for you. Not everything works for like the same for everyone. I had a few housemates that would prefer to do their essays late at evening, all through the night, stay up, and they'd work better in the night, whilst others would work better in the day. As I said, it will take a few weeks. Make sure that you're ready to trial and error stuff. It's not as simple as, oh, I'll put 2 hours here, 2 hours there. You're going to have to sit down for longer periods of time and do everything in one bit. It's not like, oh, I'll pick that up later and go out for a bit. Yeah. As important as it is to keep your social life, just make lists of everything you have to do and just put them up everywhere. That's what I did in my 3 years here, and I'm still here somehow. So just make lists of all the academic work you have to do and make sure that you like timetable it all out. So say that there's one specific social event you really want to go to in the week. Make sure that you make a to-do list of everything you want to do before then to allow yourself to go. You're not going to be working every day. You don't want to like fall behind either. So make sure that you do list and keep to it. Like, I know it's hard, and I know it's hard to say no sometimes. I found that in first year when you just want to live the classic fresher life and just go out all the time. But also don't fall behind with work, because otherwise then you'll really struggle.
Da iawn, Ella. You sound as if it was me telling my children when they were going to university what to do, but I love my list. Dwi wrth y modd yn neud rhestre, a dwi'n ticio nhw off, a wrth y modd yn gwneud hynny hefyd. Charlotte, are you a night owl or are you a day person? How do you sort that balance out?
I would say I've kind of changed. Like when I went into first year, I probably did struggle a little bit with the balance, where I did sometimes prioritise social events, but that wasn't necessarily a bad thing. But I used to kind of work later at night, and then now in third year, I do try and, like Morgan said, kind of try and work Monday to Friday, kind of like daytime hours, and then I can have the evening, so like with my friends and things. But I would say it's not like university is there to socialise as well, and they really do emphasise that it's not just working, just your course. They really emphasise the importance of sports and social activities, societies. And that is just as important. And I would agree with Ella as well, in saying, like, at the beginning of each week, I'd like timetable in what kind of social events I've got, and then try and work around that to kind of get that balance right. It can be challenging, but you do have more free time at university, unlike school. So you do kind of have the opportunity to have time for both. And also, it doesn't have to be distinct, like someone said before. I live with 2 people on my course. Like, we do kind of work together sometimes, and that's still social. We talk about our work all the time. So yeah, there is definitely a balance. That's right.
And last but not least on this one, Daniel, anything to say differently to what we've heard already this evening?
Yeah, in my first month or two, I actually got the balance really wrong. I joined far too many societies and went out too often, and so I just ended up not sleeping very much at all. And the thing, it was really not good. It wore me down so fast. But the thing is, it's worth trying. Don't be afraid to socialize. If you get the balance wrong, you can always change the balance later. It's just look at how things are going for you, how you think things will go for you in the future, and you can make good decisions even if you've made a mistake already. So don't be afraid and fall to the demonization of social life, as some other people have mentioned.
Yeah, thanks for your honesty there, Daniel, because what people tuning in to this session will think, oh, that is one way of getting the balance right. We're not all lists person, but also we have different interests. We have a different emphasis on our academic work. Some of us work quicker than others. So I'm really glad you pointed out that you need to find a way, find the pattern that works for you. Now, really interesting question coming up, and it's based on kind of social activity. This question from one student says, I am very introverted, dwi'n swilio, and find it hard to socialise with others. Any tips? Daniel, you didn't find it hard to socialise. Well, as you said initially, you took on so many things on board. What would be your tip? Beth ydych cynghorion chi i'r myfyriwr na? What would you suggest, Daniel?
I think the thing is, like, if you are struggling to socialise, it's probably just going to societies is one of the best things that you can possibly do, because there you'll find groups of people with similar interests, and they are also people who are in a society, so they're already interested in socializing and hanging out with you anyway. And so it's a really constructive environment. You'll very rarely find anybody who will not like you there. I think for the most part, they're really good places to go.
Great, diolch. Tom, beth ydw barn di ar hynna?
Yeah, Dan hit the nail on the head, but I think especially when you're going into first year, despite what anyone else might have you try and believe, like, everyone's in the same boat, everyone's feeling a bit anxious, everyone's in a new situation. I think the only thing you can do really is just try and throw yourself into everything you can. You know, when we were talking about the socializing aspect, Dan said he joined 5 different societies. Like you'll find so many people with similar interests, and it's never a bad thing to have a lot of friends and just kind of throw yourself in, because, like I said, everyone's in the same boat. No one's going to shun you for trying to be personable. So,
Diolch, Tom. Charlotte, what's your response to that one?
Yeah, I would just add on that and say, like, I would make the most of Freshers Week. So at least at my university, all the societies kind of host trial sessions. So even if you're a bit apprehensive about joining something, it might not be your burning passion or interest, but it could be something you just have an interest in. It's just worth tagging along to one of those. You might go and decide you don't like it, but it's a really good opportunity to just meet people even through that way. And in Freshers Week, I really found that everyone was really keen to make friends, because everyone else was in the same boat. So everyone's usually very sociable and kind of wants to talk. So make good use of the first few weeks.
Diolch, Charlotte. Ella, beth am bobl swil nawr? Ti wedi dod o draws bobl, ti wedi helpu rhywun, neu beth ydy dy gyngor di?
Coming to university, you're going to feel quite isolated straight away anyway. For an introverted person, I'd just ease yourself into it gradually. Obviously there'll be so much going on in the first month and a half of university life, social events, like Charlotte said, about trials, about societies. Join as much as you can, but don't force yourself to go either. I think that's quite important. Don't feel like you have to put yourself through uncomfortable situations. If you're not comfortable going to something, don't go. There'll be other ways to meet people. And I feel like you're going to meet so many people. I don't think people understand how many people you come across in the first few months of university. You're going to live with some people, then you're going to meet other students on your course, you're going to meet students through societies, through sports, through just general chats or friends of friends. If you don't feel comfortable in, say, the people in your halls, don't feel like that's the only people you're going to meet. You're going to have other friends, and you have to get along with some people, and then you'll have best friends from other places. So push yourself to go to situations, but not too far that you feel so uncomfortable you don't want to be there.
Yeah, mae hynna'n bwysig. Weithiau, so many students think they're going to be their best mates with the people in their flat or in the hall or whatever, but it doesn't work like that. Hwyrach mae'r llwybr chwaraeon sy'n mynd I fod yn agor drws I gyfeillio newydd of them. Maybe to add those extracurricular activities that can help. Morgan, dwi dod o ti ola fan hyn. Was it easy for you? Did you feel lonely or shy when you started? Pan dechreuais ti'n Nghaergrawnt, sut oedd hi?
I think it's slightly different between universities, because there's a college system here, which means you kind of put into a smaller group of people, of a college of about 300 people rather than a big university. So I think that kind of does lend itself to making friends easier for some people. But I mean, I think my biggest piece of advice would be not to worry if you don't fall into your perfect friendship group within the first week, because that very rarely happens. And a couple of other people have said, the people you meet in the first week or first month aren't necessarily representative of the people you'll meet throughout your degree, because I mean 3 years is quite a long time to meet people. And I know of many people that have kind of found their crowd like in second or even third year, and that's fine. And like you'll eventually find your people. I think having that awareness, it doesn't have to be straight away, is I think could be quite comforting piece of advice to someone who's struggling with that.
Cyngor da fanna, yeah, it doesn't happen overnight. And the best friendships take time to develop. You go through highs and lows with them, don't you? We've talked about extracurricular stuff, the social aspects, and living in halls, things like that. Beth am y gwaith hunan, the work itself and your coursework. What advice, how to get the best out of that, Charlotte? The studies, the academic studies.
I would say at the beginning is like the perfect opportunity to kind of like trial and error different methods. When I first went to uni, I didn't really know what type of like notes I should be doing, because obviously it's very different where in school it's a little bit more interactive, sometimes in smaller classes. We're going to a lecture with 300 people. But even simple things like, do I type my notes? Do I write my notes? Those sorts of things. Just kind of like trying different methods out. I definitely tried out a lot in first year, and now in third year I have like a confident method that works for me, but it's very dependent on each individual, and there's not one blanket rule for everything. So just try out different study methods that can help you make the most of it.
Ella, fi'n at ti, a croeso ti ateb y Gymraeg os ti. So beth sydd wedi helpu ti, neu beth fydde ti'n rhoi fel cyngor i helpu'r myfyrwyr? Gyda'i gwaith.
Beth swn i'n dweud ydy, peidiwch â teimlo fatha bod rhaid chi wneud yr un peth a rhywun arall. Os bod rhywun arall yn teimlo fatha bod rhywun wrth ymyl chi'n y ddarlith yn sgwennu llwyth o eiriau ar y papur, ddim yn stopio sgwennu trwy peth i gyd, a ddech chi ddim wedi sgwennu mwy na hanner tudalen. Peidiwch â teimlo fatha bod chi'n neud rhywbeth yn anghywir. Ella na dyna'r unig gwaith wnaethon nhw trwy'r wsos, tra newch chi fynd ag ail-wylio'r darlith a sgwennu'ch nodiadau yn amser eich hunan. Da ni gyd yn wahanol, newch chi ddod ar draws gymaint o bobl, mae pawb efo ffordd eu hunan, mae rhain gallu teipio yn gynt na pobl dwi roed i gweld yn teipio blaen, mae rhain gallu sgwennu. Mae hefyd yn fel dibynnu ar y math o berson da chi'n dysgu. Os bod gennych chi fel fwy o photographic memory o fel lefel A, tygau a falle, da chi yn mynd i ffeindio bod y dull yna allan well i chi, ond peidiwch â teimlo bod rhaid chi ddilyn y trend neu dilyn pawb arall, fel hollol fyny chi, mae'n annibynnol, fel dyna di Prifysgol annibyniaeth, so gnewch y mwy ohono fo.
Yeah, so we're hearing from Ella there about find a way that works for you. Again, the way that works for you not necessarily works for somebody else, and don't criticize yourself if you're doing it differently to somebody else. Find a way that works for you, and then you discover that during your university journey as well. Tom, beth ydy gyngor di ar hynna?
For the university work itself, especially early on, I think it's very helpful to kind of engage with not just your course, but also your course mates. I think for my course anyway, I think meeting new people on my course, and we could discuss pieces of work, because I think the way that if you don't understand something, or if you rewatch a lecture and you're still not sure, having one or two other people that kind of going through the same thing, you can kind of knock heads together and kind of and work at it, and then obviously your last result then is messaging your lecturer then. I think meeting new course mates and really engaging with your peers, I think that's a big aspect of getting used to it.
Diolch ti Tom, mae hwnna'n adleisio beth sydd ti Morgan weid ar y cychwyn do, ynglyn â cael amser hamdden, ond eto'n trafod y waith gyda pobl, bod yn helpu ti ddim yn gyffyrddus at y waith. Ti'n bod, fel Cymro Cymraeg yng Nghaergrawnt, beth yw ymateb di hynna?
I think one of the best things you can do is to not be afraid to really engage your natural curiosity for the work you're doing, because you're studying the degree you're doing for a reason. You really like it, and you've got a genuine interest in it. So don't be afraid to ask loads and loads of questions. When you have access to these world-leading academics, don't be afraid to use them, because that's what they're there for. And they're there to kind of help you foster your curiosity. And you'll write so many essays and so many things throughout your degree that not everyone has to be perfect, and that really allows you to give you a chance to kind of experiment and be bold with your ideas, and then not to worry if it goes wrong, because inevitably you've still learned something at the end of it.
Ac felly, dyn ni'n clywed yn crig fan hyn a neges o peidiwch â phoeni, don't worry about things. And as you said, the lecturers and supervisors, they prefer to know if you're struggling. Ac yno i helpu chi. Is that your experience, Daniel, hefyd? Sorry, we've just lost your sound there, Daniel.
Have I?
Oh, it's better. You're back now.
Okay, yeah. So every lecturer that I've ever had to ask questions of has been extremely kind. They will never be upset with you for not understanding anything. So long as you have a genuine question, they will be very happy to answer. And I mean, even if you've made a mess of a section of the course, they will still be happy to help you. No matter if you do badly or well in the course, that's what they're there for. They want to help.
Gwych. But really, yn gystyr i bawb I glywed na a cael y tystiolaeth na bych chi. It's great to hear that first-hand experience. It sounds to me as if you've got some great supervisors, lectures there at Addasu looking after you, Daniel. The next question, I've got to ask this one, and it'd be interesting to see your experience of it. It's about, obviously, juggling, balancing work and study and money as well. Will getting a job while studying in university be a huge distraction? And I wonder whether you're in agreement on that. Pwy na I ddechrau? Tom, croeso ti ateb hwn yn Gymraeg os ti eisiau. Wyt ti wedi cael swydd tan y Prifysgol?
Pan o'n I yn fy ail blwyddyn, o'n i'n gweithio yn rhan amser yn Sandy Park. Ar y penwythnos just tra bo tîm rygbi Exeter yn chwarae. Oedd yr oriau'n eitha neis, a oedd y tal yn eitha neis. Ond o'n I bai am hwnna, o'n I ddim yn gweithio llawer tu fas. Y prif reswm am hwnna oedd o'n I eisiau canolbwyntio ar astudiaethau, a fi'n meddwl o'n i'n iawn I gweithio ar y penwythnos yn unig, ond o'n I ddim eisiau gwario gormod o amser yn gweithio pan o'n I gyda astudiaethau parhau gyda. So dyna just experience fi.
Yeah, so working there, doing some work with Exeter Rugby Club, and what a season they've had, Tom. I'm sure you're very proud of their successes this year. But obviously you didn't do more than that because you wanted to concentrate on that academic work. Morgan, what's your view on this one?
It's kind of strange because at Oxford and Cambridge, you're not actually allowed to have a job when you're in your undergraduate degree, which I know a lot of people think is really odd, and it is to an extent. But I mean, the idea behind that is that the university wants you to spend your time on your studies. But as a kind of complement to that, the university does offer quite a lot of bursaries to students who need them. In such rich institutions, there is a lot of funding there, and there is the availability to access that. So it's just a matter of finding resources, and there is a lot of information out there. So I know each college can provide up to £3,000 or £4,000 a year if your household income is below a certain level. So I wouldn't want that to worry anyone who feels like they need a job to get money during university, because there are the resources there. But yeah, you won't be able to have a job here, but it doesn't mean you can spend more time on your studies.
No. Diolch yn fawr ti, mae'n bwysig bod myfyrwyr yn clywed hynna nawr hefyd ac yn gwybod y gwahaniaethau. It's good that prospective students know the difference, and that what different universities do and what they offer, etc. For us to hear that at this stage, whilst they're selecting where they're going to go. Daniel, Aberystwyth, what's happening there?
I think in general, I would advise against getting a job if you can possibly avoid it. There are obviously situations where you need money, but again, if you are in that kind of situations, you are likely to be able to get bursaries and things like that to help you avoid it, because obviously jobs will, rather than they will eat into some other form of time. You won't just gain an extra 4 hours a day to do your part-time job. They will eat something else, it will be social time, study time, or other things like that. So it's ideally unavoidable, but but there are bursaries available for certain people.
Okay, and now's the time to look for those when you're looking at universities and what's on offer there. Diolch, Daniel. Charlotte, did you have any job? Well, do you have any jobs whilst you're at university?
Yes, I've worked for both years, but I've been employed through the university. So I've been a student ambassador, so doing things like campus tours. So I get paid to do that sort of thing, and I've also the university also employed me to be like a mentor in a secondary school. But I would definitely say there's enough time for some work, because it's kind of part again of the like work-life balance. And I personally find like work as like a social aspect as well for me. Like I would say definitely I wouldn't advise like a 20-hour week contract, but you can get kind of more minimal jobs. So for example, because I'm employed through university, it's really flexible with my studies. So say if I have an assignment due next week, I don't have to do any shifts because I sign up for them when I'm available.
Right.
So I think I would say it would be a little bit more difficult to manage if you say did like 4 shifts a week at somewhat external, but I found it very manageable, the work that I've been doing.
It's great to know that you're doing that ambassadorial work for the university as well. You're giving something back, so that's great. Da iawn, Charlotte. Ella, oes amser gyda ti, gyda dy holl chwaraeon, I wneud rhywbeth arall, neu beth yw dy feddwl di ar hyn?
Yeah, similar to Charlotte actually. This year I'm the Welsh language officer, swyddog yr iaith Gymraeg yn Met Cardiff. Dwi'n cael yn halu a fy nghyflogi gan yr Undeb Myfyrwyr fel swyddog rhan amser. Maen nhw'n cyflogi myfyrwyr fel swyddog rhan amser a fel reps ar gyfer yr ysgolion gwahanol. Da ni'n cael yn talyn fusol a da ni just yma i gynrychioli llais y myfyrwyr, really. I was just saying that I'm the Welsh language officer for Cardiff Met for this year, and we're basically there to just support students and be the student voice on a higher level. We get paid by the Students' Union, and they have employed 6 students to be part-time officers. So there's an environmental officer, equality and diversity officer. There's 6 of us between us all, covering all aspects, and there's school reps. So on that basis, I would highly recommend getting like a job through university if you can, or like Charlotte, like an ambassador. It's a great way to put something on a CV as well, without like they get that you're busy as well. It's not like just any job in the town where they don't really understand where you're coming from. I'd avoid getting a job for like the first term in university. Don't feel like you have to come to university and find a job straight away, because you're going to be working for the rest of your life. Like, enjoy university. You need to make friends. You don't want to feel like you have to say no to social events because you're working. Like, that's going to be the rest of your life. So just make sure that you're having fun as well. And you don't want to feel like you're missing out on something because of your work or because you have a shift in a restaurant or something like that. So make sure that the balance is there. But there is time for it. Just make sure you get the balance first and you do enjoy yourself.
Cydbwysedd, dyna'r gair mawr, is that balance and finding what works for you. Well, we've got one question left, but you have to be brief on this one. No elongated answers, but your answers have been fantastic, and I'm sure all our students tuning in have benefited from that. So the question is, okay, what's the best piece of advice you can give students before they go to university? And this time it's a kind of 1-sentence answer. Who am I going to start? Charlotte, I'm going to start with you. What's the best piece of advice you could give somebody?
I know it's hard, but don't just try not to stress about every little thing before you go. You can't predict things, so go in with an open mind.
Okay, Ella, at ti nesa?
Don't feel like you have to tie yourself down to a group of people. Like, if you don't get along with your flat, go out and make new friends. Don't feel like you have to settle for one group if you don't really get along with them that well. There's going to be much more people to meet with.
Gwych. Daniel?
I think it's, don't panic about things. You will have the opportunity to fix any problems you have. While problems can seem big at the time, like, they almost always can be resolved.
Gwych. Tom?
I think if you're comfortable, or if you're comfortable, either slightly curious, I think just being a yes person, just get stuck in. If you're even remotely interested in doing something, you know, especially early on, it's not going to hurt you. So that's what I'd suggest.
Gwych, diolch yn fawr Tom. Adlas, fi'n mynd i orffen gyda ti Morgan. Pa gyngor bydde ti'n rhoi iddyn nhw?
I would say try and make the most of your experiences, try to have an optimistic outlook, and to take as many of the opportunities as you can.
Ardderchog, well, dyna le da I orffen. What a great place, yeah. Thanks for taking this opportunity, the five of you, for being on the panel, and for the students listening. You've taken the opportunity to tune in, and I bet you've had great advice from these lovely students. Chi wedi bod yn llys genhadon gwych i'ch sefydliadau. You've been wonderful ambassadors for your institutions, and all I can do is wish you well ar gyfer eich dyfodol. Diolch yn fawr iawn i chi. Hwyl am y tro.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Wel, mae'n cynhadledd rythwyr gyntaf yn dod tua'r terfyn. We've now reached the end of the first virtual National Seren Academy Conference. Ac am fwynhad. We hope you've enjoyed it as much as we have. What a fantastic 2 days we've had. Diolch arbennig i chi'r panelwyr a'r cyfranwyr gwych. We're so grateful to all our wonderful panelists, contributors and experts for your insight and advice over the last 2 days, and for your continued support for Seren. Mae'r cefnogaeth barhaus yn werthfawr iawn i ni. I chi fyfyrwyr Seren, to you, our Seren students, gobeithio i chi gael eich ysbrydoli. I hope this conference has inspired you to continue your journey and provided you with the information to assist you with taking your next steps. Ac mae'r gefnogaeth yn un barhaus, cofiwch. And as we've already said, the support doesn't end here. We're lucky within Seren to have a network of 13 Seren Hub coordinators who work closely with your schools and colleges across the country. Ac fydden nhw'n dal I wneud hynny dros y misoedd nesaf yma. They'll continue to keep you updated and informed on further national opportunities to take part in, as well as providing you with direct support and advice at local level via your school or college. Ond nawr I ni am eich help chi. As we've said previously, this is our first virtual Seren Academy Conference. A wnaethon ni lwyddo. We need you to tell us if we've succeeded with our goal, in the hope that you found this conference useful, insightful, and beneficial to you in the next steps you take on your journey to higher education. Ar y dudalen lobby, on the lobby page, you'll see a link to an evaluation form. Byddech chi cystadlau llenwi, os gwelwch yn dda? Would you kindly complete this form to help inform us of what went well and how we can make improvements? A beth am gynhadledd flwyddyn nesaf? Should the virtual conference be repeated next year? And inform us on how to support you in the coming months and years ahead. Mae'n bwysig I ni glywed hyn. A chofiwch, mae cyfle I ennill gwobr. And by doing so, you'll also be entered into a draw where you could win a £50 Amazon voucher. Wouldn't that be a nice way to start Christmas? Dechrau da i'ch dolyg? A'r neges ola wrtha I, byddwch ofalus a chadwch yn ddiogel bawb. Please stay safe, stay well, and stay learning. Ac wrth I ni'ch gadael chi, and just before we go off air, yn ôl ar y ddewyd, as promised, the one thing you've been waiting for. Mae'r broses gofrestru ar gyfer yr haf, the registration for the Seren Summer Schools, is now open. Mae ar agor.